This is 97.3 ABC Illawarra. Have you noticed what is changing? Believe it or not, skilled migrants are going to be paid more from tomorrow. New $70,000 minimum wage. So skilled migrants coming to Australia will earn that minimum of $70,000, with cafes, restaurants, small businesses, farmers and others saying this new minimum will put migrants out of their reach. They'll cost too much for small operators. One cafe in Wollongong told us that 70-plus workers that applied to be a chef at their local cafe, only 3 applicants were local. The rest were overseas chefs trying to get a break here. But the $70,000 wage meant the cafe couldn't even consider any of these overseas workers. On top of this, restaurants would employ a lot of international students who are concerned they won't be able to work due to the reintroduction of the number of hours they can actually work. Tough times to be in the food business. Suresh Manickam is the CEO of Restaurant Catering Australia, and he's online this morning. Suresh, good morning to you. Is this something that you really don't think that people who run cafes and restaurants should need to worry about?
Good morning. Well, we do not think that our members or the broader industry needs to worry about this, and they shouldn't have to worry about it. This is going to add substantial cost to a whole lot of small businesses and restaurants and caterers. There's no two ways about that. We already are facing a massive skills shortage in this country, particularly in our sector, and to slug us with these hikes is, we think, unreasonable.
So have you spoken to government about this?
Yeah, so we've actually written to the government. We've put our case forward. We are waiting for a response from the government in terms of this. Now, there are 2 things, as you've quite rightly identified. There's the Tismet test, which is increasing the wage to $70,000. So that's the threshold in which you have to look for people. And then the second thing is that you've identified is the fact that as of tomorrow, a cap will come in terms of the number of hours a international student can work here. It was uncapped up until today, but tomorrow it's going to be capped to 24 hours a working week. We think that's very unreasonable, and the reason that we're very concerned about that particular issue is this. We've gone from no cap to a cap. There's a whole lot of people out there that are willing and able to work, those students. They're willing and able to work. There are restaurants and caterers who are really in need of having these people work there. And if that cap comes into play, what we're really concerned about is that it might, open up for a black market. And we don't want to see that, because that's bad for us, it's bad for the student, it's also bad for the government.
So you're suggesting that people would just start to work under the counter and get cash money and so drive it all underground?
That's exactly right, and that's something that we just don't want to see happen.
What are the alternatives?
Well, I think the alternative is that, to have a more reasonable approach to introducing a cap. And so that cap, we think, should be somewhere around maybe the 35 hour for a week.
So you want a standard working week, really?
Well, look, I mean, yes, why not? There's plenty of people able to work. There is a massive skills shortage here. There are, as you've identified, there are a whole lot of cafes and small businesses who can't fill those jobs.
Well, I mean, the government said they wanted to have these caps in place to ensure that students, international students, came here to study, not to work.
Sure. And look, I think there's a couple of ways to look at this. I would have thought, the responsibility and of adult students, they can sort out their own studying patterns and all the rest of it. I think that's one aspect. The second aspect is we are all being hit by higher prices in terms of everything. That cost of living issue is affecting all of us, as well as students. And they also need to put a roof over their head and meal on the table.
Do you think that we need more migrants, not just skilled migrants?
Well, I don't think, and I'm happy to be wrong, but I don't think we've opened up to pre-pandemic standards or levels. So I think that we do need, to have a look at these skilled migrational sort of patterns that we have. I think it does need revisiting.
What about a tiered approach so that you have different pay rates for different areas? in the country. So you might be in regional areas, which is, migrant workers get a little bit more or different to the city. Some way of actually, evening it out, because I know that people who live and work in regional Australia are often left out of any of the equations. They all work in the cities.
Well, look, that's exactly right. Although one of the things that we're also experiencing and something that our members are telling us is that really that cost of living pressures are happening in the city as well as the regional areas. So it's pretty much uniform.
Uniform. Okay. So lower skilled workers coming to Australia, is this the bigger issue? Is the government worried about them?
Well, look, I can't speak on behalf of the government, but certainly we are concerned that, as of tomorrow, there's going to be a massive impact on skills and skill shortages. We are, again, calling on the government to, revisit that. I would say this, that one of the things that the government has done is they've created a carve-out for the aged care sector. And effectively what they've done is said, all right, fine, in terms of international students, we will not impose the cap for another 6 months, and they've recognised that aged care need a carve out because they've got skills shortages. Now, when you have a think about our sectors, restaurants and catering in particular, a whole lot of aged care utilise catering services to ensure that aged care, operates effectively. So we're asking that we should also be, exempt or from that cap for another 6 months, and let's revisit it in December, January.
Suresh, I'm speaking with Suresh Manickam, who's the CEO of Restaurant and Catering Australia. It's just a couple of minutes away from 8 o'clock. Finally, if I may, it all comes into effect tomorrow. Do you think we'll just have to wait and see the real impact on the ground, and hopefully restaurants and cafes can keep operating, or will we actually see a change, do you think?
Well, we're seeing the change now, so I think the only thing we're going to see is, the situation worsening, unfortunately. As you said in your introduction, there's just one of many cafes who are saying, well, hold on, it's just way too expensive to be bringing people from overseas. And there are no domestic people who are applying for these jobs.
Ooh. What's your timeline? When do you think we'll see some changes?
Or, again, up to the government. But
what about if you're running a business?
Well, we want those changes today.
Do you think that'll impact businesses from tomorrow? Will we start to see less hours?
Well, unfortunately, it will impact businesses, and it already is impacting businesses. And we're seeing that in terms of, as you've identified, less hours, less operating hours for the actual business itself, shorter table sittings and the like. So that's the impact.
All right. Appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much. Suresh Manickam, the CEO of Restaurant and Catering Australia on 97.3 ABC Illawarra.